can see that.
Now, forum members, come please have a seat. We're going to get started.
I paid $260.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Please. All right, next we have a, you might say, a controversial subject. Not that the last one wasn't, but do let me remind you that when we first asked the people to come, at the time of the invitation, no decisions had been made, I'm pretty sure. However, since then, the PUC, Public Utilities Commission, has made several decisions. If we, the forum members, and the members of the audience do not like those decisions, then I would recommend you address them to the PUC. The different speakers here, best of my knowledge, have little or no, well, maybe they make some recommendations, but they did not make the decisions. So just please keep that in mind as we move along here, okay? First, I want to welcome Judy Stokey, the Executive of the Governmental and External Affairs in Nevada Energy. Thank you, Ms. Stokey, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman Randall, and forum members. For the record, again, Judy Stokey with NV Energy. With me is our manager of customer programs and services, Mr. Schad Koon. He's going to be giving you a presentation that he's been giving around town to other organizations in regards to our NV Energize project. So I'll turn it over to him. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Schad Koon once again. Thank you for the opportunity to present this information to you. I do have a number of business cards that I'll be happy to leave behind. If there's a question that I'm not prepared to answer, I'll be happy to pass those out, and please call me and I'll follow up on those right away for you. NV Energize is NV Energy's Smart Grid Smart Meter project. The project, a little bit of background about the project itself is we did receive approval in July of 2010 from the Public Utilities Commission for this project. It's a $303 million project. $139 million of this project is being funded through the Smart Grid Investment Grant through the Department of Energy.
Excuse me just a minute.
Yes, sir.
A copy of the presentation is behind your yellow thing. In case you can't see that very well, we have a copy of the presentation which will help us. Thank you.
In addition, we did bring a couple of other supplemental fact sheets that are also by our presentation on the table that I would welcome anybody to also pick up if they're interested.
Thank you.
No problem. So our project, the scope of our project was to replace 1.3 million meters throughout the state, every service point that NV Energy has throughout the state of Nevada. 1.3 million electric meters and 150,000 gas modules located in the Reno Sparks area of northern Nevada. The project began, as I mentioned, it was approved in July of 2010 by the Public Utilities Commission, and we began installing smart meters in September of 2010 and are expected to have the meter installation piece of this project completed by December of this year, December 2012. So the first question that usually gets asked out in the community is basically, what is a smart meter? Smart meter basically is the same meter that you had before with the addition of technology, specifically technology that allows two-way communication between our customers and the company there, and the end result is what the smart meter is today. Thinking about what does a smart meter really do is we ask customers to think about speedometers in their car. How you have some timely feedback and have the ability to control the accelerator of how fast you go. And up until this point, some customers are very, very aware of their energy usage, but most customers, and specifically me, being with the company for close to 20 years, have brought new awareness with the tools that have been made available with the smart meter technology. So thinking about cars, if they didn't have speedometers, what kind of surprises could be out there? And some of us have had that occasion where you get that bill at the end of the month, and it has been totally out of your expectation of what you thought was going to be the energy usage out there. Thinking about the speedometer there for just a second, and where you look at that information in your car, generally you have a dashboard that has other gauges and information there in a centralized location. In this case is how we try to describe what the smart grid is. And the smart grid, although the smart meter is just one piece of it, allows for more timely energy information, the ability to have automated outage detection and restoration confirmation, so not having to necessarily pick up the phone and call us to let you know when you're out, but also confirming when our crews are in those areas doing restoration that we have everybody back 100% in service before they do leave those areas. This also gives us the ability to provide improved conservation options, voluntary options that are out there, and the ability to start and stop service remotely. So customers that had moved in our service territory before generally had to provide us access, and we gave you a day that we would be out there to initiate or discontinue the service, and now we can do that through our secure network. Our secure network we have out there is a standalone network. Most of our infrastructure is located within our substations or the antennas that are out there. There's not any other systems or anything. It's not part of any cellular network or anything like that. It's a standalone network that was built from the ground up, mainly for the aspect of the cybersecurity reasons that go along with it. Biggest question that does come up are the smart meters accurate? You see a lot of news that's out there, especially if you do a search on the internet. There is a lot of information that's out there. We have a three-part step about the accuracy of the meters. First of all, every meter that we receive from our manufacturer is tested by the manufacturer. When we do receive a shipment of meters, before those meters are deployed out in the field, we do pull a random sample of 5% and test those meters for accuracy and communication, make sure that they do talk to our network, our secure network, before they're released out of the field. And also, we have contracted with the University of Nevada, Reno, that does independent lab tests on the meters to confirm the accuracy. The end results are the meters are accurate within 99.99%. Security and privacy. One of the things that you do see some of these videos that are out on the internet do mention something about the utility company gathering all this information to sell it to a third party. There are laws that have been in place in Nevada, specifically with the Consumer Bill of Rights, been in place for some time here, that prohibit the company from doing that specific thing. Specifically, this Nevada Administrative Code here, 704.320, subparagraph 3, forbids us from sharing information with third parties out there, any information that is on the utility side. For cybersecurity, the data is encrypted. That's one extra layer of security out there. It's long key encryption that we have out there. And of course, our network we do out there with our standalone system is utmost is security, and our network is secure with these records we have. Safety, questions come up about the radio frequencies that are out there. The radio frequencies that do come out, it does communicate through our secure network, through a radio frequency out there. The meter does not constantly communicate 24/7. What it does is it does take a reading every 15 minutes, and it does communicate it throughout the day, about average of every half hour. It directly communicates to our information system, our antennas that are located mostly throughout our substations, and then that part of the meter goes back to sleep. So it's not constantly transmitting those particular features out there. It is a federal communication standards licensed band. It's a Class B licensed meter out there, and it does operate within about the 900 megahertz frequency that we have. As part of the workshops that we have with the Public Utilities Commission, specifically on December the 6th, this particular information was provided, and the study is available at this site that's found here at the bottom. We had a company called Exponent come in from back east that did an audit of our system and specifically looked at the transmission rates of it, and the safety and security aspects of it. And what they found is comparing this and trying to apply this technical nature into something that we're commonly familiar with, is when you compare our meter and how it communicates with the radio frequencies, it's 5,000 times less than a standard cell phone that's out there. So also comparing to cordless phones, microwaves, Wi-Fi routers, a lot of things that are found in most common homes that are out there. To date, we've had more than 780,000 meters that have been installed throughout the state. That includes the gas modules that are going on also in northern Nevada since September of 2010. We expect to have this process completed, the meter installation, by December of 2012. And we do have a process of letting customers know in advance when the meter is coming. It's through a letter process. We send letters to customers in advance within a 30-day window. If the phone number that we had on file is correct and it's not outdated, it's also in the letter itself there. We will also provide a reminder call a couple of days in advance to let you know of our presence. The electric side does require a short power outage while we do change that out and do the testing of the panels and everything. So we do try to prepare our customers that there's going to be a quick outage there and then bring the service back up to full service there. One of the sides is why is NV Energy doing this? Well, first of all, there was a unique opportunity with a Smart Grid Investment Grant that we were successful in receiving the $139 million as we were exploring this technology previously. But this does align with NV Energy's energy strategy. That strategy involves customer engagement, improved energy conservation programs, and an investment in renewable and clean generation equipment that's out there. Also, there's operational savings as these features that are available, as I mentioned earlier, the ability to read the meters through the secure network, the ability to do customer requested move-ins and move-outs through the secure network, do bring that along with a number of other efficiencies out there, operational savings. Those operational savings are equated to be about a net savings of about $25 million a year that's going to go into paying for the other half of this project and then eventually go into the rate-making process for the cost to serve our customers. So how can you participate in the Energize? There's always conservation programs. We have a number of voluntary programs that are out there today. But we also have, and I'm going to show you here, the benefits on the customer side, which are the online tools that are available to customers through the My Account portal. This is on nvenergy.com. And this has been available for several years, and this is just a more enhanced version where we can share the information with you to provide you greater detail about your account. Today, most of us have been familiar with getting a bill about once a month, and that's been the only form of communication that we've had. If you've ever had a curiosity of what your bill has been up to a certain point, you've had the ability to go out and try to calculate it. Well, what we've done here is if you look over here, especially where it says $70.23, we provide our customers their bill to the previous day. So instead of just giving you a bill at the end of the month, you could go to our secure network. It's through you've signed it up with your username and password. That's how you access it. It will provide you information up until the previous day. So it's not real-time data. It is a day old, but we're going from communicating once a month to giving you up until the previous day there. Also, with that bill that's provided up until yesterday, we'll provide you a kind of a range of what your bill, based on the pace that you're going, is expected to be, to kind of set your expectation for what that bill is going to be at the end of the month. Now, the reason why there's such a range out there is because nothing has changed as far as you as the customer having the ability to use as much or as less if you wanted to. But if you wanted to validate, maybe you changed out all of the light bulbs in your home to the new energy efficiency ones, wanted to see what impact it was, you'll be able to go in and look at these tools and be able to validate that the next day. So along with that, there's 4 screens that are available with the smart meters, and these are available anywhere from about 30 to 60 days after the meter has been successfully installed. And the reason for that period is we also go out after the smart meter has been installed and we verify at least one reading in person to make sure that what's on the digital display there is the same thing that's being collected through the secure network. And we make sure there's a number of things that are validated and the quality is there before we turn these features on. So it's a range of about 35 to 60 days before these tools are available and visible to customers. I mentioned there was 4 screens that were available. These screens here, there's energy by day of the week. There is actual daily and average energy usage. This one on the right here, there's a bar that's probably hard to see, but it's probably easier to see in your handouts there. That'll show you what your average energy usage is by day out there. Once again, if you're a customer that chooses not to change anything, the only thing that we're doing is upgrading our meters that are out in the field. This one here also shows daily energy with temperature, and I'm hoping this will be very beneficial in the summertime, especially here in Southern Nevada where I live, is understanding how when it's 115 degrees outside, even though I let my air conditioner go up to 90, it still does come on several times a day to maintain that higher temperature. And this will give customers the ability to see how that weather impact has any impact on their bill. Or you can do like people that I know that completely shut things off and go back to test it without any knowledge. The information that is gathered through these readings is whole home data. It does not report individual appliance. It doesn't have anything like that. Basically, it's where we used to come to read the meter once a month. We're just reading it more frequently. So it is whole home data that's being collected. This one right here, as I mentioned, is we do take a reading on the meter every 15 minutes. It does not indicate what is being used. This provides 2 pieces of information. Number one is what the energy usage was during that 15-minute period. If you see these bubbles that are down here, if you were to hover a mouse when you're on the secure portal out there, we'll tell you what that cost was for that 15 minutes of energy. So maybe if you were just curious about a particular time of day when a pool pump was running and wanted to calculate what that was, you would have these tools and the ability to do that. For those that are familiar with spreadsheets or have an interest to take this information any further, up in the upper right hand on this blue bar is the ability to export the data. If you wanted to look at a particular time of day or just ask yourself some more detailed questions about your energy usage, you're able to export that data into a spreadsheet format and analyze that. Also with this is we have a feature called alerts. So although some customers have gone in and looked at these tools and look at it on a regular basis, we have also another feature, and this is currently available through email only. But you have the ability to go in and set alerts to just let it remind you based on variables that you set as a customer. There are 3 variables that you can choose to put in there. Once again, these are not mandatory as far as the alerts. This is a feature that's available with the customer benefits. But if you were curious to see when your bill is to hit, say, a $20 mark, once again, that information is going to be a day old, but you receive an email that says, as of yesterday, you did receive, your bill is at the $20 mark and you're 5 days into your 30-day billing cycle. So it can keep you more aware on a timely basis it's out there. If you're more technical nature and really like to look at the usage, maybe you want to know when you hit the 100 kilowatt hour mark or the 10 kilowatt hour mark or the 1 kilowatt hour mark, you'd be able to go in and update that threshold there and say, let me know, as of yesterday, what that threshold when it was reached and notify me through an email channel. The one that I use is the one on the bottom here that provides me weekly summaries. So about every Saturday morning I get up and it tells me week by week how much I've used up until the point of what my bill is. And when I do receive my bill, I can either be prepared for it or I can do things that could lead to changing the overall outcome, meaning cost savings if I choose to do so. This one here is probably what most questions are centered around, so I'll share with you the information that we have to date. And as the chairman mentioned with the recent decisions, on February 29th, the Public Utilities Commission did vote in an opt-out provision. There's a couple of things that are being done right now that are in the works, but I'll share with you what we know today. So it's a 2-to-1 vote on the 29th of February that a trial opt-out program is warranted and to be evaluated. So what's going on right now and what the trial opt-out was is the commission agreed that there would be an alternative meter that was made available. This meter is a drive-by meter. It's called an AMR or an ERT meter, and these are the ones that are used by several other utilities, whereas it's still being collected through a radio frequency, but it's done when a truck or a van or something with that equipment that can communicate with that specific type of meter is within a certain proximity. So these meters do not collect 15-minute interval data. They will be read once a month, kind of what was traditionally done, but it will be done through this network, the secure network of collecting the reads. And the customers that chose this option would be required to pay the full incremental cost, and there would be no subsidy for low income or anything for those that did choose this. The process that we're in right now, as I mentioned, this was ordered on the 29th of February. NV Energy, we're working on the provisions for putting those costs together and submitting them to the Public Utilities Commission for review. We have 60 days, which is up until May the 1st, to have all of those factors put together and sent to the Commission for review. Once the Commission has reviewed it and whatever their findings are, what the costs are going to be, we, back to the company, will have 90 days to implement this solution for all the customers that are either on a postponement list or customers that have received the meter that have asked for the meter to be removed that's on a removal list. So there'll be some further communication with those customers, giving them the choice of if they want the standard metering arrangement, which is our smart meter, or the option, which is what's being introduced now. The reason why I mentioned that it's a trial opt-out program is after a 12-month test year, the Public Utilities Commission will determine if there are sufficient customers to economically support the program. If yes, we'll file a permanent tariff to calculate the actual monthly cost to serve the number of customers. And the reason why this is out there is we do keep a close eye on what's going on throughout the nation. And the other nations that have had opt-out provisions, there's been a large number of customers that have expressed the initial interest, but a rather low number that have actually chose and committed to the options that have been provided. So I think that's where, not to speculate, but that's where the 12-month trial for you to go back and look. That estimate that we're basing all the costs on, the incremental cost and the ongoing cost, is based on a number of about 7,500 customers. That's 4,500 in the southern part of the state and about 3,000 in northern Nevada that are kind of estimated to be the ones that would overall accept this option that was out there. So with that, we do have 2 dedicated phone numbers, one for Southern Nevada that's listed here and one for Northern Nevada if customers have any questions about the installation, any questions about the program themselves. We do have these numbers that are also available on our website. I also invite anybody that is interested to look at our website. We have a great deal more information on case studies, more information about the health aspect of it, and some more of the details that were mentioned about that exponent report that was mentioned earlier on. So with that, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Just a moment.
My name is Mary Roberts, over here.
Oh, hi.
Excuse me
I'm
just a minute.
District 1.
Mary, excuse me just a minute, please. Okay, I'm just debating whether to have all the speakers and then questions or questions as we go. So, but anyway, that may be better questions as we go. Okay, so Mary Roberts now.
Mr. President, I'm Mary, and also Mr. President, would we remember the focus of our questions better if we address them after each speaker?
That's what I just said we're going to do, yes.
I was asking your opinions.
Yes, I think you're right, and that's what we're going to do. So Mary, go ahead, please.
Okay, first of all, my husband retired from Commonwealth Edison.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. He was an engineer for Commonwealth Edison. He did 12,000 volts and a half. When we got this meter, he said it was a good thing, and he's never got nothing from going up on those high voltage all for 35 years. So I think it's a good thing.
So thank you.
You have a
Mr.
question on the
President,
forum?
I yield to Barbara.
Barbara, and then Evelyn, please, and then the public.
Good morning, thank you for your presentation. My name is Barbara Altman, I'm in District 9. I'm just curious, is somewhere down the road, is it going to be a problem for us seniors who have to put the heat on in the winter because they're colder, or they need more air conditioning in the summer because they're warmer and they can't breathe as well as younger people can? Are their energy bills going to be increased because they've used more of the heat in the winter and the air conditioning in the summer? Are we going to be judged on how much energy we're using by these meters? I'm really concerned about that because my first priority are our seniors and their care and their health. So it makes me a little uneasy. So can you please explain that to us?
Sure. Well, if you were to do nothing more than what you're doing today, it's just a simple upgrade of our meter. So as far as the flat rate that most customers are on, that doesn't change as a result of this. A common question that does surface is about mandatory time of use rates. And that question did come up in the Public Utilities Workshop on December the 6th, and it was asked during that forum there. And we did go on record to say that is not the intent of this program. The intent is to design more energy conservation programs, most of, all of which today are voluntary, and more appealing like that have, a lot of other utilities specifically have done throughout the country. So the flat rate, there is no chance of plans to change that. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Well, what if you don't have a flat rate? And what if you have a variable? Like, for example, I do. My bill goes up in the summer because of the air. I'm not much of a heat person, but there are people who require more heat in the winter.
What I was referring to, a variable rate, today we have voluntary called time of use rates or TOU rates. This is where customers choose to pay a lower rate during non-peak times, so they pay a higher rate. I believe it's between 1 and 7 through the months of June through September. Voluntary is what it is. There's several thousand customers here in Southern Nevada that do participate in that. So that the intent of my question is not to, we've been asked if we were going down a path of making everybody go into that type of program. The answer was no.
And Evelyn Canestra next, please.
Yes, Evelyn Canestra. And I've been on the forum, I think now, what is it, my third or fourth term that I've had the honor to be here with distinguished colleagues and to realize that our focus has been always our concern for the elderly. And where I suppose I should apologize for the remarks I'm going to make, I really am going to apologize to myself for the aggravation that I have to repeat this information again. I did not know the smart meter came onto my property without my consent or my knowledge in April. But then I've had a wonderful time. The digital equipment on the stove misfunctioned. The digital telephone that came in July misfunctioned. It sends bogus phone calls to my burglar alarm, which misfunctions. The apparatus that I spent for a 4-zone thermostat misfunctions. I've had the joy of 67 degrees all winter, but then I can buy electric fans and so on to keep warm. The garage door only goes up and down 2 inches. I think the best part was the distortion of my vision, which has been diagnosed after many examinations. I apologize to Medicare for what it has cost. The brain scan, yes, I have a brain, they told me. The neurology, the veins, the heart, everything, nothing wrong. However, that smart meter is just outside of my bedroom, and this is a form of headache, often reported. Secondly, I use sleep apnea equipment, and there has been reports of that interfering with that type of equipment. So you can see I'm not a happy camper with this smart meter. But even more unhappy, my efforts to approach Nevada Energy and ask them to take it back. Just come and take it out. Met with indifference, secrecy, arrogance, non-communication. I wish to congratulate Ms. Stokely. I have seen finally a real representative of Nevada Energy. I'm so pleased to have you here. But this is my point. If the World Health Organization says that smart meter radiation is a class 2B carcinogenic, 100 times the exposure from a cell phone, should I worry about that? Yeah, I think so. Also, that it's been reported as far as New Zealand, explosions and structural fires. Should I worry about that? Well, I have a 1,000 book collection of cookbooks. Yes, I'm worried. Also, it seems like you've put an awful lot of effort into collecting data. Why? There are privacy issues involved here. They can hack into my alarm. They can tell when I'm home or not. But here we are in the United States of America, and now I understand you have a trial opt program. I really want to get into it immediately. Now, I guess if you raise the fees, hike up the cost, you're going to find people are going to fall out. But right now, I just want to say that I have lived in Vientiane, Laos, with the Pate Lao. I have lived in Arab countries, and I understand control. I resent very much coming into my private home, putting that meter on, and then refusing absolutely to listen to me when I ask that it be taken off. I would like not to have distortion of my vision, at least. I'll live with the phone going crazy.
Ms. Castro, I must interrupt. As I said earlier...
Well, that's the essence of what I'm trying to communicate. I didn't want it, I don't want it now, and I'm looking for a procedure to get rid of it. And I'm hoping to have cooperation.
Again, I want to reiterate what I said earlier. The Public Utilities Commission has made a decision. And there is now a method to get it taken out. So maybe before they leave, they can tell you who you should contact, okay? Who's next now? I think of is Giorno and then Russ Schoenbeck, okay?
I wasn't sure I was on, Dr. Brown. From what I understand, I tried to read quite a bit about it because I had an instance where they came onto my property and were going to install a meter and I asked them not to. They came back again, this time with 4 big burly guys. I asked them not to. They finally brought the supervisor on, and I talked to her. So we said we were going to wait with this. I don't like them going onto my property without informing me, and all my rentals without informing me that I had an option. But I think where my concern is this: the meters themselves do not conserve energy. You collect data, and then you try to inform the consumer to change their pattern of usage. So in essence, if there's peak hours between, let's say, 12 o'clock and 5, that I use my dishwasher, you're going to inform me that I should do it at midnight because there's less usage. Is that correct? I mean, because, okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying you're going to inform me about my patterns is what you're doing. That the meter themselves do not conserve energy. Is that correct?
That is correct. The meters register whole home usage just as the traditional meters did. The difference is providing you information that's a day old through our secure web portal that promotes energy awareness.
I think most of us know that. It's common sense that if we're going to use...
But it does not, just
So we
the
spent
introduction of the
$300
meter.
some million for that. I don't know. And the other thing that bothers me is the fact that they are computers. And from what I'm understanding, you have this computer and it sends data to hundreds of homes within your area. You pick all this data up and then it goes to your cell, your tower cell. Isn't that the way it works?
No, that's a different configured system.
How does your system work?
Our
It does
system-
not pick up the data?
No, not through other homes.
Okay,
It has a
because I
direct.
understand that you have it's what they call proprietary. You can take this data and keep it. We do not have accessibility to this data, but your company does.
Actually, the data that's accessible is through the web portal.
Yeah, but the other data,
Which data we have?
the data that, like when we're using and what we're using, the amount of wattage we're using, you can tell that by a certain amount of wattage it's being used. Whether it's a hair dryer, you can tell what time that hair dryer is being used. You can also tell if I'm home where I'm using the toaster at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think that's very private.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that I'm objective of. And the other thing would be, if in the future, because of seniors, Social Security doesn't go up that much, that you wouldn't, Nevada Energy would not tear their rates because you do have accessibility. Right now we have a flat rate. But in the future, what guarantee do we have that you will not tear that rate? When the peak usage is going to be between 12 o'clock and 5. And most seniors are home at that hour. The people that are out that are working, they're not home at that hour. They can shut it down, their air conditioning.
And thank you. But to answer I believe with Ms. Altman, we talked about the mandatory time of use rates question coming up earlier, specifically on December the 6th, and the answer was that was not the intent. As far as speculating in
We're
the
talking
future,
intent though, we're not talking what will be done. Intent is one thing.
Right.
But in the future, if you see that there's too much consumption, the demand is greater. What your intent is today does not give us the guarantee for tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, I did
Again,
want to
I
address.
think the PUC should be hearing these types of things.
Dr. He's here and I'm going to address him.
Well, Mr. Schoenbeck, you're next, please.
Thank you. My name is Roy Schoenbeck. I just have a simple question on it. Why is there a necessity to read a meter 2,880 times in a 30-day period? We've gone for years reading it once. You just told me you could drive by and read it once. Why can't you do it 12 times a month? Okay? Which probably would eliminate an awful lot of people's concerns, okay, on that. I have a meter on my home. I took back a television. The people at Walmart probably don't like me very much because I took it back 3 times because my picture kept freezing on that. My electric man told me, okay, that works for Nevada Power, that it probably was the meter on that. 2-second freeze, 3-second freeze on occasion, but it does happen on that. I thought it was just one. I have 3 TVs in the house and they all do it. So I know it's not television at that point in time, but my question is, why do we have to go 2,880 times in a 30-day period? Why can't it be less? Probably would satisfy some of the complaints going on out here. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that. I know that when we designed the system, there was the ability to share it down to the 15-minute level with our customers, and that's how we configured it initially. So I know that the question did get raised about the transmission, how far could we transmit the reads? And the answer that was provided is we could go up to 84 hours was one of the suggestions that was going through the opt-out discussion. But the end result was this drive-by meter alternative that is being explored.
And I guess maybe what I was looking for is the answer to why does everyone that have a power meter have to be read that often? Okay, certainly not everybody in Nevada Power's area has a computer or wants to look at it. The last thing I want to look at is my computer usage or my electric usage of my computer. I've got better things to do, okay? I can certainly, representing the elderly, there's a tremendous amount of people out there that don't use a computer, period. It's not a benefit to them. Okay, so at some point in time, you know, we have to look at the benefit overall of the entire population of this state on that, whether what we're doing is doing anything for anybody other than Nevada Power. You got a grant.
Okay, we have any questions up north?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I'm just curious, when I get to my bill up here, it is electric and gas. Now, how is this going to work with the gas part of my bill that I'm receiving from Nevada Energy? And who's paying every time these meters are put in? Are they just free to us?
They're currently, to answer your first question about the gas and electric component, as far as your monthly billing statement, that'll still continue to be delivered. We read the meters every 28 to 34 days is what our schedule is. So that is all staying the same. The ability to look at kind of greater detail of your energy usage through the portal, as I showed here, was down to the 15-minute level for electric. For gas, we'll show it on an hourly basis for those that do want to review that. But as far as your bill, you'll still receive that on a monthly basis through either paper or electronically. As you're signed up today, that's not going to change. As far as how is it being funded, as far as the installation, the $303 million project, $139 million through the Department of Energy. The other half is not in the rate base today. That will go in it's expected to be covered by the operational benefits, as I mentioned, $25 million a year. And it's not part of the current rate base that's out there. So there's not any additional surcharges or anything else like that that has been done throughout other service territories when they've installed this type of network.
So the homeowner, the property owner, doesn't receive any kind of bill for this being put in?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope you can stick around for public comment, but we need to move on to, what?
That's okay. I mean, I just had a comment. Do you mind if I?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to tell you, I live in an all-electric house. I've lived there for 26 years. I didn't know when they came. I didn't know anything about any of it. You probably did send me a notice, but if it wasn't a bill, I threw it away. And I'm always so delighted. And when I went to various senior groups that I attend through my work, I suddenly was being told about this thing, and so I went home and looked, and yes, I did have a different meter on that, you know, it was different, and it's right outside my bedroom window, or on the wall there by my bedroom window. I haven't noticed anything. My only concern was I thought, well, what are they going to do, not have meter readers, or are we going to have more unemployment? But when I'm listening to you tell me how many times you're taking the thing, it must be there must be people somewhere that are doing something with that. So perhaps you picked it up at that end. That was my only concern, was that there would be a loss of jobs And if you have taken care of those people, well, I don't have a problem, and I've evidently had it for some time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stokey, Mr. Koon, for being here. Next, we have Eric Witkowski, the Consumer Advocate and Chief Deputy Attorney General, Office of the Attorney General, Bureau of Consumer Protection.
I'm here this is Dan Jacobson. I work for Eric Witkowski. I'm here in Carson City.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if Eric's going to be able to make it today, but I'm here prepared to speak on this.
Okay, Eric's not here, so we're rolling. Okay, so Mr. Jacobson here. Yeah,
Right.
okay, go ahead, Mr. Jacobson.
The Attorney General in Nevada has a group called the Bureau of Consumer Protection. And we look at a lot of things to protect consumers, but there is a group of us that focus solely on utility issues. And we get involved in rate cases, we get involved when the company wants to build a new generation plant, or when there are complaints such as the smart meter complaints that resulted in hearings. And we also are pretty active at the legislature when they're in session, looking at the various pieces of legislation that have an effect on consumers. I would like to talk briefly about the smart meters, and then a few other things that I know that one of the things your group does is to focus on what may come at the legislature, so I'd like to talk about things that could affect senior citizens at the legislature this next time. First of all, with respect to the smart meters, we had recommended that there be no charge to opt out. We've watched the company pretty closely. They have told Wall Street, and it was described today, that as all the meter readers are eliminated, and there are I think over 100 meter readers in the south and quite a few in the north that will be eliminated, hopefully giving other jobs at the company. But as those are eliminated, the company will avoid or save up to $25 million. It will be worth $25 million a year. We find it frustrating that the company would reap those kinds of savings and charge a handful of people who want to opt out, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of over $100 up front, and then perhaps somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 a month to opt out. The Commission listened to our concerns, but decided that in the next little while, the company will make a detailed filing and propose specific rates. We will be very involved in that, trying to remind the Commission that the company is saving a very large amount of money by not paying meter readers. You just heard the company say that 139 million of the 303 million that it cost to put all these new meters in was covered by stimulus funds from the federal government. The rest of that will either be offset by these savings or result in a rate increase. And so that's something we'll be watching closely. But again, we are a little frustrated. The estimate is that there will have to be 5 meter readers across the state who will drive through these neighborhoods and pick up maybe it'll be 7,000, maybe it'll be less customers who will opt out. We will continue to push that those customers certainly shouldn't have to pay a monthly amount every month because they don't want to have a smart meter. Particularly when the rates that customers are paying today, the rates that all customers pay today, are based on having every single meter read. Because at the time the rates were set, everybody's meter was read manually. Let me move on and talk about, and I was intrigued at your questions about, well, why are you reading, why is this smart meter reading so frequently, and what is the company ultimately going to do with this? The company has been very above board about saying that they will not propose mandatory time of day pricing, but the company is, and the Commission, the Public Utilities Commission has authorized a trial where anybody who wants to volunteer can have time of day pricing. We've seen the time of day pricing the company has proposed, and for those customers who use during peak periods, like during the peak in Las Vegas in the summertime, The rates, if you were to run your air conditioner at 5 p.m. in the evening, the rate during the peak period would be 6 times the normal rate. Now the offset to that would be in non-peak periods, perhaps during the winter in Las Vegas, the rate might be quite a bit lower than the normal rate. Our concern with that, and I think the concern you already have articulated, is that could be a real shock to some customers who don't have an option, who need to run an air conditioner during those peak periods. The company again has said they will never force this, or they have no intention of making this mandatory, but they're conducting a trial. The data will be there. We would recommend, as your organization provides suggestions to legislatures, you might consider suggesting that legislators in Nevada adopt a law that says there will not be any mandatory time of day pricing for energy rates. The current rate structure provides average pricing across all time of day, and that's pretty crucial, particularly to people who have to be at home during those peak periods of times, who can't choose to be somewhere else or run their appliances late at night. So that is one recommendation you might consider. Let me move on and talk about a couple of things that are happening that may affect senior citizens in the way of rate increases at the next legislative session. If you've followed what's been happening in Nevada, for a lot of years, Nevada was growing like crazy, and the energy companies were continually building more capacity. They were building more generating plants to stay up with the growth of the demand for energy. What happened when the recession hit is that, unfortunately, the company was authorized and they kept building for a while, and yet the energy demand started dropping, and there was actually a decline in the demand for electricity. So that has resulted in a situation where Nevada Energy currently has more generating capacity than is needed. Well, they're a regulated utility. All of their costs are recovered through rates. And so customers are paying more for the fixed cost of this generating capacity, even though it's not being used. When there's excess capacity, it makes a couple of things not work that normally work. One is, the Nevada has a law that says a certain amount of energy will come from renewables, solar, thermal, geothermal, hydro, and so forth. Those sources of energy are more expensive than conventional generation of electricity. And at this next legislative session, it's very likely, it probably won't be Nevada Energy, but it's very likely that other parties will recommend that even more of the energy in Nevada come from renewables. The solar industry will probably recommend this. The geothermal industry will recommend this. It's called the Renewable Portfolio Standard. It's very likely there'll be pressure to raise that. If that happens, that will raise rates in Nevada because we're not in a growth mode, customers have to pay for all the conventional capacity, and if the legislature says, well, let's have even more renewables, they'll have to pay for the renewables on top of that. And we happen to be in a situation right now where solar energy and geothermal and wind energy are more expensive than natural gas. Again, if you followed this, if you happen to see reports on TV, the United States has more natural gas right now than we ever thought we would. And the price of natural gas is at the lowest rate it's been at in a long time. For a while it was at $11, and now it's down around $2 because we keep discovering more. Even President Obama, in his State of the Union address recently, said his famous, well, my energy policy is all the above, including natural gas, which was a big change for him. Again, the point of this is, as you provide recommendations to legislatures, you might urge them to be very cautious about adopting a requirement for more renewables in Nevada, because it will raise the price of energy. It will raise rates for consumers if Nevada Energy is forced to bring on more solar, more wind, more geothermal power at a time when they already have more capacity in terms of their conventional generation than they need. The last point I wanted to make is you may be aware that for many years electricity rates have included, they've been raised a little bit in order to subsidize efficiency programs. If you're familiar with those light bulbs, the CFL light bulbs, the fluorescent ones, those have been subsidized by Nevada ratepayers, and so is an incentive to eliminate secondary refrigerators or to put in more modern pool pumps or air conditioning. Though electricity rates have been higher than they needed to be, not much, but a little bit, in order to subsidize those programs. Well, those programs made sense when the demand for energy was growing. But now, as the demand for energy is flat or declining a little bit, it doesn't make a lot of sense to ask consumers to pay more to subsidize light bulbs under the theory that this will help Nevada Energy not build the next generating plant, because the truth is they already built that plant and consumers are paying for it. We, with the Bureau of Consumer Protection, urged the Public Utilities Commission to scale down those subsidy programs on efficiencies because of this overcapacity situation we're in. And we were very pleased. A couple of weeks ago, they came out with an order that did, in fact, scale down. It terminated the subsidy on efficient lighting. It scaled back several other programs, which will help keep rates low. So I realize I've kind of thrown a lot at you. I would leave you with, we will continue to watch these things, but I urge you, to the extent that you are active at the legislature next time, there are a number of things that you could help us push back on to try to keep rates as low as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I see if we have any questions, I would like to ask you if you could to give us those recommendations in writing. And that way we could consider them officially as to what priority we would give those, and if we would seriously consider sending some of those recommendations to the legislature. So could you provide us something in writing?
I'd be very happy to do that.
Okay, that would be great. Now, for the forum, are there questions for Mr. Jacobson? I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. President, may I ask if we could have an email where we might communicate with you? And I think that our president was hit it right on the head when we wish we could have some written recommendations from you. Perhaps the quickest way would be if maybe we could get in touch with you and then we could print out. Today I happen to be going to a place, a function, where I'll be seeing one of our senators. I can think of maybe 6 legislators offhand that I can personally direct your recommendations to, and I will want them to be very agile in listening to the points of view that you were making that help seniors. I appreciated very, very much knowing that you're there and that you're watching out for senior issues.
I fully agree.
Yes, I would be happy to. Let me give you my email address at work, and then what I was thinking is that I could submit perhaps I could email these written recommendations to Ms. Mary Shope. Would that work? And she could get it to you?
Yes, that would work very, very well. Thank you. That would work.
My email address, if you've got a pencil and are ready, is D. Jacobson, Jacobsen, D. Jacobson, at ag.nv.gov.
Okay, Mr. Jacobson, thank you very much. Any other questions for Mr. Jacobson? Well, I echo what Ms. Canestra said. We're glad you're out there protecting us. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the time. Thank you.
Next, I would like to, item 7, we'll try to do this quickly as possible, and then 8 is public comments. First, I wanted to kind of give you a quick update on the goals and objectives, the things that we agreed on a few months ago, and we're trying to get some of the tasks done. And I'll ask Mary to go first to tell you about the status of the forum brochure and updating of the website. And also, I'll let you know right now that we are trying to monitor attendance and also any vacant slots that we have.